never made it, but I know what it takes. I'm motivated by a mix of emotion. Got my statement, and I'm reading it slow so I can understand it fully. Appreciate my standing, go out of this world and right on time. Oh, never in my life have I seen the sky light up like this. I'm far away from Earth and I wanna know if you exist. Mission control, do you read me? Send me my coordinates lately. Mission control, am I drifting? Tie me to someone who will love me, yeah. Wait, I think I'll last a bit longer. Fine.
Welcome everyone. Welcome everyone. Welcome everyone to another Ref Brandon and the Todd Family YouTube video. Wherever you are, whatever you may be doing, thank you so much for making Ref Brandon and the Todd Family a part of your day. We always greatly appreciate it. Happy Friday to everybody out there, and I apologize for my shirt being wet because I know somebody's going to see my shirt and say, his shirt looks wet. But when you have as much hair as I do and you try to wash it or brush or do anything with it, sometimes you just get wet. But on to today's video, where I want to talk some NASCAR. As always, any thoughts on it, please feel free to let me know. Last weekend, all three of the big NASCAR National Series were on the racetrack in Las Vegas. Friday night, we had the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series race, which was called the Victoria's Voice Foundation 200, and it was won by Rajah Caruth, who is another Georgia native. There sure is a lot of Georgia drivers in NASCAR across all three series. For all these people to think, man, NASCAR no longer has any Southerners in the sport. Well, that's a crock of bull. Rajah Caruth got his first career win, followed by Tyler Ankrum, Corey Heim, Taylor Gray, Christopher Bell rounded out the top five. And 6 through 10 was Christian Eckes, Matt Crafton, Zane Smith, Grant Enfinger, and Ty Majeski. Then Saturday afternoon on into early Saturday evening on the East Coast, we had the Xfinity Series race, which was just called the Xfinity Series Spring Race at Las Vegas. And it was won by John Hunter Nemechek. Now, at one time, we had all these drivers come along, like son of Richard Petty, Kyle Petty. At one time, Dale Jarrett had a son that tried to make it big in NASCAR. Rusty Wallace had a son named Steven that raced for a while in the Xfinity Series. He wasn't any good. One of the Labanis had a son that tried to make it. And then, of course, we know we had Dale Earnhardt Jr. At one time, we had all these drivers that came along that were only in the sport because of who their daddies were, and they all pretty much sucked out loud. But that's not the case so much anymore. I think Chase Elliott is about the same as Bill. You know, Bill was the most popular driver in NASCAR for 100 years, but he only won one championship. Everybody loved him, but he was good, but in my opinion, he wasn't great. Chase is about the same as his daddy. He has all the fame and popularity because of his name, but he's not great in my opinion. But then we have Ryan Blaney, the former Cup Series champion. His dad, Dave, used to race, and Dave never won a race. And then we have John Hunter Nemechek, who is the son, of course, of Joe Nemechek. And Joe raced forever, and he was average at best. So now we're getting to the point to where we're getting former drivers' sons who are coming along, and they're actually better than what their daddies were. And that's good to see. I hate to see people get a drive in a car just because of what your name is. These guys are actually showing that they're talented, not because of what their name is, because they're just good. Cole Custer came home second, followed by Chandler Smith, Austin Hill, and then Las Vegas native Riley Herbst rounded out the top five, followed by AJ Allmendinger, Ryan Sieg, Sammy Smith, Brandon Jones, and Justin Allgaier. And then Sunday afternoon, we had the Pennzoil 400 presented by Jiffy Lube, and Kyle Larson came home with the win. He dominated the race. He led, I believe, 181 laps out of 267, but Tyler Reddick got to within about 1.5 car lengths with 2 laps to go, but just could not pull off the pass. So Tyler Reddick comes home second, followed by Ryan Blaney, Ross Chastain, and Ty Gibbs. Then we had Noah Gragson, Martin Truex Jr., Denny Hamlin, Joey Logano, and William Byron rounding out the top 10. Now, there is no truck race this weekend. We know that the trucks do not run near as many races as the other two series, so they get plenty of off weeks. This is their first off weekend. But tomorrow, we do have the Xfinity Series race at Phoenix at 4:30 tomorrow afternoon on the East Coast. And then coming up Sunday afternoon from Phoenix, we have the United Rentals Work United 500 for the Cup Series. And I mentioned last week that the ratings are up so far, and they were up again this past weekend. And there are two things that help the ratings. One is you need some kind of parity, and two, you need superstars. And I've told all the longtime NASCAR fans forever that what killed NASCAR was Jimmy Johnson dominating and winning 5 straight championships. And of course, they all try to blame it on something else, and that's a bunch of hogwash, because basketball's changed, but it's more popular than ever. Football's changed, it's more popular than ever. Wrestling's changed, people still watch it. NASCAR is not the only sport that's changed, and people still watch the rest of them. Now, baseball, you can change a little bit here and there, but fundamentally, the way baseball's played, you can't really change a whole lot. But basketball's changed drastically, and football's changed drastically. People still watch. People didn't quit watching NASCAR because it changed. Otherwise, you wouldn't watch football, you wouldn't watch basketball, and you wouldn't watch wrestling. They quit watching NASCAR because they got tired of seeing Jimmy Johnson dominate. And I did too. That's probably the only time in my life, since I started watching NASCAR 30 years ago, that I quit watching it. Because after Jimmy Johnson won the championship in 2006, and 2007, and 2008, by 2009, I said, what I'm doing. I'm not going to sit here and waste 9.5 months of my life watching NASCAR every Sunday when I know the final outcome is going to be Jimmy Johnson's going to win it. You know, so if you're a Jimmy Johnson fan, you enjoy seeing that. But if you're not, that gets boring. And that's what's made the NFL so popular all these years. I know everybody tries to make like Tom Brady won it every year, but he didn't. He didn't win it every year. He didn't play for the big game every year. But what makes the NFL so good is the fact that there's parity. You don't see one team win 3, 4, 5 straight championships, because unless you're a fan of that team, that gets old. And basketball right now is so popular, the NBA, because they have superstars. You need superstars, and you need parity. And you look at the NBA right now, there's superstars everywhere, and there's parity. You don't see an NBA team win 2, 3, 4 straight championships. It doesn't happen because nobody wants to see that. So NASCAR has changed their sport to where now you have parity. And I've told people for years, why do you complain about parity? Back when I was 11, 12 years old watching NASCAR, there was about 10 or 11 drivers, maybe at the most, and you knew one of those 10 or 11 guys were going to win every single race. Now you've got about 20 guys that can win any given weekend. Why is that a bad thing? So you're telling me the drivers getting better and bringing parity is a bad thing? No, it's not. It's a good thing. The only thing NASCAR needs now is a superstar like they had back when they had Dale Earnhardt, or back when they had Richard Petty, or back when Jeff Gordon first started. If NASCAR could find a superstar like those guys, the way the ratings have slowly inched back up, and now they have parity, if they can find a superstar, NASCAR might reach the popularity it had back in the late 90s, early 2000s, because they definitely have the parity. Just about every single weekend now, there's somebody new running up front, somebody new winning the race. I think last year we ran, I believe, 9 or 10 races before we had somebody win for the second time. And that's what you want. You don't want to see the same guys win every week. You don't want to see the same top 10 every week. You want to see something different. It's good for the sport. And unless it hurts your driver, you enjoy it. So I personally enjoy it, and I'm glad to see NASCAR finally not reaching the peak it had 25 years ago, but it's slowly getting there. I believe this past Sunday it was the most watched sporting event of the weekend, and that is a good thing. Any thoughts on this, please feel free to let me know. Let's go ahead and get our dad joke of the day in here. Why was the broom late for school? He overswept. And that does it for today's Ref Brandon and the Todd Family YouTube video. Until next time, it's Ref Brandon saying, just like in pro wrestling, life can be over by the count of 3. Tell your friends and family how much you love them. Bye.